An unprecedented lawsuit against the state of Texas over its abortion ban. And now the state district judge that will determine its outcome says it will likely take several weeks for her to rule. Medical experts taking the stand, while the final witness, an OBGYN who says doctors simply just don't understand the law. Then during court proceedings, there were the personal stories from the women themselves saying the state's abortion ban put their lives in jeopardy. Their testimony triggering tears, trembling on the stand, women even getting physically sick as they told their gut-wrenching experiences. One of those women, Amanda Zarowski, was brave enough to share her story with us back in October.
I should have been able to receive health care immediately. I was told that, there was a 0% chance that I was going to deliver a happy, healthy, alive baby, or that I would be able to carry any longer. And so at that point, my doctors should have been able to induce labor so that, again, we could begin the healing process and so that I wouldn't develop a life-threatening disorder or disease.
Well, Amanda told her story once again, and it was before that judge this week, and she joins me now once again to tell us about it. Amanda, it's so great to see you.
It's good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And we were watching yesterday when we saw how so many women, this was not easy, including for you. Even the one woman who testified, she became so emotionally overwhelmed that she became physically ill on the stand. As you watched all of that and just heard all these other women with the same types of stories, how was that for you? And then also tell me what it was like to share your experience there in the courtroom this week.
Absolutely. It was heart-wrenching. Telling these stories over and over again about the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to us, sharing our grief and our loss in brutal detail over and over is never easier. It's very difficult. And listening to my fellow plaintiffs tell their stories, it just breaks your heart, but it also is really empowering. And I think we're all very grateful that we finally got the opportunity to address our concerns and get a response, because for so long we've been trying to speak up and we've been ignored. I think they keep trying to silence us, and finally we were able to have our voices heard, and that's very empowering.
And just for those that didn't see our interview back in October, didn't have a chance to hear all the testimony there on the stand, remind folks about your experience, Amanda, and why this was so important for you to testify, and just how the lack of access, can impact other families in Texas.
So I was pregnant last summer, and I was just shy of 18 weeks, and I developed a condition called incompetent cervix, which basically meant I was dilating prematurely. And we found out very quickly that we were with complete certainty going to lose the baby. Now, at that point, my doctor should have been able to provide an abortion or induce labor, but she couldn't, because in Texas, that inducing labor when the baby's heart is still beating would be considered an illegal abortion. And so I had to wait until her heart stopped beating, or until I got sick enough that my life was on the line, and then they could induce labor. For me, what happened was it took about 3 days, and I did get so sick that I went into septic shock. And at that point, my doctors were finally able to induce labor, but I nearly died in the process. I spent 3 days in the ICU and another 3 days in another unit in the hospital.
So, Amanda, when you told that story, which it gives me chills hearing it again, how did the judge react? How did others in the courtroom react? Can you sort of bring us there for a minute?
Yeah, it was an extremely difficult day, I think, for everyone in that courtroom. There were a lot of tears, and not just tears. I mean, there was sobbing. As you mentioned, one of my fellow plaintiffs got physically ill. I think all of us who were testifying had to run out of the courtroom and excuse ourselves at least once, because it's just incredibly difficult to retell and to hear over and over. I did not see that same emotion from the state's defense. In fact, I mentioned this yesterday, through all of the grief and trauma that we've experienced, no one from the state's defense one single time apologized for our loss or acknowledged our grief.
Wow. Wow. So what do you think is going to happen? What do you want to see happen now with this lawsuit?
Well, we're very optimistic. The judge did tell us that it could be several weeks until we hear her ruling. Of course, it could come at any time, but we were quite pleased by that because there's so much evidence and we have such standing that we want her to take the time to really review everything that we've provided. What we'd like to happen is for the court to clarify what a medical exception is so that doctors can exercise their own judgment and provide healthcare based on their training and their education and what's best for their patients and what their patients want.
Amanda, thanks again for sharing your story. It was tough for us to watch yesterday as well, but you're being, as they say, be the change, and that's exactly what you're doing. And I want to stay close to you and your husband and just see what lies ahead for you. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet, Amanda.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.